So actually, this is really interesting.
You need to do our course. You need to do our course.
You know, I do, especially as a salesperson. And tell me about that, right? Because I've always been sales. I've never sat on the other side where I buy things until the last, 6-7 years, where I've been the decision maker and had to kind of red pen things and be like, sure, we're buying that one, I guess. So what is it like on the other side of the other side of the battle lines almost?
Well, you think about it, all the big companies, they have procurement departments for a reason. Because they save you money. Procurement departments, they look after 80% of your spend. Now, if you're a $1 billion company, £1 billion company, that's a ton of money they are looking after. And unfortunately, procurement departments are really, really tiny. So you might have a marketing procurement specialist, you might have IT, logistics and so forth. But they're very small departments. You might have about 6 people in a department looking after, for a £1 billion company, 800 million spend. That's crazy. So what we try and do and say, do you know what? We want to help procurement functions. We want to, the 20% that you cannot look after, which is 200 million, right? For $1 billion. Let's train the people who are responsible for spending that money, right? And if they can save up to 20%, we're talking big numbers in savings, which comes down to your profit line. So your profit margin's improving and your profit line's improving, and people are buying better because they're reducing their risk. They're paying market value prices, and they're getting better supplier terms. It's a win-win.
It is a win.
You're just going, I'll pick. You sound good, but I haven't checked you out. You just sound nice. Bought 100 grand's worth of equipment, and they could have. You didn't do a report on them. They could be. They could be financially in trouble, but you've just handed over money. Good luck. So what we do is we say we're going to help procurement, but then we also, what we do is not everybody can afford a procurement department.
Sure.
Right. So if you do and you have 80, and they look, and if you do have a procurement function and they look after 80%, what happens when you don't have a procurement function? Nobody looks after any of the spend. All of it is being spent frivolously.
I have no idea, no concept of what that's like.
Yeah. So what we try and do is that we have a purchasing 101 training course. People can do it online. They can spend their own time. It's all in bite size, easy to understand. But our training is like yours, Jay. We use animation, and we've had to turn a very boring subject matter into something incredibly funny. And so our personalities stamped on it. We use humor, we use music, we use iconic movies to teach people about good purchasing. So you don't become a procurement expert at the end of it, but what you do become is a very savvy buyer.
Right.
So suddenly these are the steps I need to take in order to buy better, smarter. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And why wouldn't you do it? You'd be mad not to do it. I'm so passionate about this. It's one of the things that I was like, when you hear people say, oh yeah, I just share my budget. Of course you share your budget, and somebody's going to help you spend every penny of it. Why would you do that? You never share your budget. Rule 101 in procurement, never share your budget. Now show me one supplier who's going to say, oh yeah, I'll only charge you 50% of what you want to spend. It does not happen.
So rule 101 of procurement is strangely exactly opposite of rule 101 of sales. Like, get the budget.
100%. We're the opposite. We're the flip side. We are opposite ends. But you know what? We can work together because the salespeople want to know how to help make the buyer's life better, right? The buyer needs to know that they're not going to be taken for a ride, and they're going to get all their requirements met. And when you work together, it's a win-win. Why wouldn't you want a win-win? And then it maintains your relationship, and you can have a long-term relationship. You don't want to have a one project done deal, and you think, yeah, you ripped me off, I'm not going to be using you again. Oh, by the way, I'm going to tell everybody else about you. You want to maintain that relationship for years to come. And if you have a win-win, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
I remember when I worked in IT sales, I used to work with some of the larger telcos, and same thing, just exactly as you're saying. The biggest telecommunication company in the UK that you can think of I've worked with them. And their procurement teams would be 10 people, 15 maybe. And I was one of the few people who would just make an effort to make a relationship with those and find out. Like, and I knew that because it was such a big business, there is just processes and hoops that they need to jump through. And I'd be talking to people and being like, look, I know you want this, and that our person on our side has said that they want it, and we're going to give you a PO, but first. And I just spent time doing it. And very quickly I found, after working all around in different business units throughout different telcos, I'd be speaking to the same 10 people. So very quickly, it was great to build a relationship and being like, hey, I know you need a blah, 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 blah before we can get started. There you go. And strangely, I would, I'd be able to get deals through a little quicker, a little easier than the person sat to my left and right who kind of found purchasing as something to defeat. A department that's in its way of getting the purchase order. For me, it was the finance side. I have to do all the admin for finance side. Great to speak to someone who actually owns it and cares about it. Because like you say, in those other businesses like ours, where you don't have a specific purchasing person, where does that purchasing go? What is the process? If you talk to me, is it completely different when you talk to my founder? Completely different when you talk to my creative director, my operations? Is that going to change every time that you speak to one? Potentially. So I always liked when there was procurement, because it became a really simple process once you knew who you were talking to. And yeah, it's different in every business, but guess what? Like, it's different in every business.
And you're going to get good and bad with every business. You're going to get some fantastic procurement people and some not so great procurement people. You just need to learn to, like you said, build a relationship. Because once you build a relationship, then they will always remember you, and you will be one of the first people that they go to. Now, sometimes procurement aren't the main decision maker on that. It's a stakeholder.
Yes.
So build the relationship with both, and then you're onto a win-win.
And that's, I think, the thing that which some salespeople find very difficult to deal with is they've spent 2 months, 6 months, whatever, speaking to the stakeholder, and stakeholder is like, yeah. And then it goes over to procurement, and you have to start the process again. And I think a lot of time, people who are trying to push that deal through, or, work with that deal, because they've got sign off from a stakeholder, it feels like procurement are just trying to get in the way and mess things up. And it's like, no, you've actually been in you're 6 months down the line of a process that this person is day one of. And guess what? They got to do due diligence. They got to start from the beginning and be like, well, why?
Well, the reason why is because the stakeholder didn't include procurement to begin with. And that is not the supplier's fault. That's the stakeholder's fault. So in the perfect world, they all work together.
Sure.
But when you don't have a procurement function, it's left to the stakeholder. Imagine the stakeholder doing their own thing all the time and not being held accountable. And it's like, well, my budget's gone. Really? Shocker.
Who keeps spending my budget?
Yeah. You could have bought a hell of a lot more and improved so much more than you have, because you just don't know how. See, this is what gets my goat, right? This is what gets my goat. We all see. I want to let this off. I'm going to get it all out on the table.
Do it.
So we all go shopping for stuff, right? We buy our insurance, we buy the telly that broke, we buy food. We think, we're buyers. We know how to do it, right? 100%.
100%.
So when we go into the workplace, we think we can buy for business because we're buying great for home.
It's so easy. Next day delivery.
No. Yeah, no, does not work that way. You have to. You are working with another company. You have to do your due diligence about that company. You need to check market rates. You need to check, are you being taken for a ride? You need to do service level agreements. You have to read contracts. Like when you're buying a toaster, you don't really do that. How many people read terms and conditions of buying a toaster? It's like, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take in red. I'm done. So no. And then when it all goes wrong, everyone goes, oh, whose fault is it? So you don't. If you took the necessary steps because you had training, then you'd be minimizing these risks. And it's all about minimizing risk and spending your money effectively.
And it's so smart because businesses focus so much on the in. More salespeople, more marketing, more stuff, more leads, qualified leads, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, leads, close, hit the number. But if you're bringing all this in and it's going straight out the back door like a mafia movie, you're running a sinking ship, right? You're in trouble before you even. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much you bring in if you've got people spending. And I have to admit, like as a small business in years past, I know for a fact that me and my co-founder Tony have made that mistake. In fact, I even remember first, maybe even second year, where we were totaling things up in the last month of our year and saying like, hey, we've got too much profit. Let's start spending. And we spent like crazy Eddie. We were buying stuff we didn't need. We were buying stuff we wanted. We bought nice mics and all kinds of things. And all of a sudden, 2 months into the new year, we're like, whoa, cash flow, huh? Okay. Because we hadn't really thought about the purchasing. We didn't have anyone looking at it. We just kind of, the management team managed to convince ourselves this was a great idea.